Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about the video game Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Last time we talked about this one was back in November when it came out for the Nintendo Switch. Back then, social justice warriors were attacking the game because there was a small reference to a Native American headdress in it. Basically, one of the characters in this fighting game has a move that has the character blow fire out while also having a small feather on their head, like a Native American headdress. Seems pretty harmless at first glance and upon talking about it, but radical SJWs always find a way to get triggered by stuff like this, especially when it's involving something popular like the Super Smash Bros. Game. So yeah, instead of letting this reference go or even acknowledging it as a favorable homage to the natives, well, instead, SJW gaming journalists opted to call this a racist cultural appropriation, whatever that means. And instead of fighting them on this, the game's creators at Nintendo decided to just remove the feather from the animation and move on with their lives. So yeah, they kinda caved in a little bit here, but you really can't blame them for doing that either. And now, in today's story, we got a brand new thing in this game which a certain SJW found pretty offensive. Recently, Nintendo released a new character for Super Smash Bros. In its latest DLC downloadable content package. The character is called Joker, and they're from another game called Persona 5, a very popular RPG series made for the PlayStation. But the issue isn't with Joker specifically. No, this time, it's one of his theme songs that got the progressives' panties in a bunch. Apparently, one writer at the now notorious Kotaku.com, well, this writer found a certain lyric in one of Joker's songs offensive. Now, SJWs getting triggered and writing articles for Kotaku is certainly nothing new here. I've covered their shitty work before multiple times, and also, there's even a whole subreddit page on reddit.com dedicated to this kind of bullshit. It's called Kotaku in Action. So, needless to say, these guys are the worst. Kotaku is a prime example of why so-called gaming journalists are completely unreliable these days. They're a joke. Really, gaming journos are just a bunch of starkly left and liberal assholes who hardly even like or play video games in the first place. That's why they come up with this kind of bullshit, stupid virtue signaling articles like the one we're going to look at today, which we're going to get to shortly. With all that said, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the article in question. It's called Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's Persona 5 DLC includes a disability slur. And before we even get into it, the game does not have a disability slur. And even if it did, it's a video game. So what? Let the kids and gamers have some fun. But regardless of that, this whole article is based on a misunderstanding. But I guess we'll go ahead and read it anyway and trying to figure out what went wrong here. Earlier today, an update to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate brought the game up to version 3.0 and brought with it several big changes. Players can now create and share custom stages online, and DLC Pack 1 arrived, adding Persona 5 protagonist Joker to the game. Part of the DLC Pack's edition includes a number of Persona music tracks, which can be listened to in full outside of battle. However, one of these tracks caught our attention for all the wrong reasons. In the track Wake Up, Get Out There, if you skip to around 148 into the track, you'll reach a section of the song where words are softly spoken rather than sung. At around 157, it appears the term retarded is used, and followed up by the assertion that I can say it. The official lyrics for the song, curiously enough, does not include the spoken word section. This is our transcription of what's said, and here you can see what the writer thought the lyrics were, but they don't make a lick of sense to me. Why would the song even say retarded like that out of nowhere? That line is preceded by the words, ready to pick up the pieces, let's go, let's play. Retarded wouldn't even fit there in the first place. And if the ill-informed author of this article had done just a little bit of research and maybe just a simple Google search, you can easily find online that many others have pointed out what the actual line is. It really says retort it, like speaking back to it, retort. That's right, the lyric isn't retarded, it's retorted. So it looks like the only thing actually retarded here is Kotaku and its writer, who are trying to manufacture a controversy so bad they didn't even bother looking into what the song actually says. Furthermore, the fake journalists that wrote this garbage can't even confirm what they're claiming here. Just look at this picture of the Kotaku writer responding to someone on Twitter. @FeelMyPuddle asks if there has been any confirmation on the word retarded being used in the song. And they also point out how the context doesn't make any sense, like what I was saying before. Then the writer from Kotaku, named Laura Kate Dale, she admits the term is not in the official lyrics, and she's got no confirmation it's really in there whatsoever. So basically, she just wrote up that hit piece seeking controversy, basing it on a complete made-up nonsense lie. Amazing. They even outright claim the term was there in the tweet and the article's headline. It clearly says a disability slur is in the game, not even bothering to make it sort of ambiguous with something like it may include it or it could include it. That would be preferable. But no, this article outright says includes a disability slur, stated as if it was a fact, when Really, that fact is completely false. The term retarded is considered a slur against people with mental disabilities. It has been commonly used as a pejorative term to diminish the capabilities of those with certain mental health conditions, and is widely accepted as a term which should not be used in English-speaking parts of the world. In fact, many parts of the world are trying to phase it out of medical texts and replace it with terms like intellectual disability. Needless to say, this does not exactly fit Nintendo's family-friendly image, nor seem an especially appropriate inclusion in a game with a 12 rating, or indeed any game. As well as that odd detail of the official lyrics not including this section of the song, it's also the case that another version of this theme, which features in Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, removes this section entirely. We have reached out to both Nintendo and Persona 5's European publisher Deep Silver for comment, and will update this article with any response. Well, I guess we are still waiting for them to update this article because nothing has changed on this page so far, even though, as I said before, the whole basis of this thing is completely false. The song doesn't say retarded, it says retorted, and Kotaku should be ashamed they let this get past them, and quite frankly, the article should be retracted, corrected, and also apologized for, if this website ever wants to be considered credible again, that is. But let's be real, Kotaku is far beyond saving at this point. And what's with the word policing here anyway? Like I said in the beginning, who cares if the song said retard anyway? I know SJWs think moral grandstanding like this makes them look virtuous or something, but to me, they just look pathetic and sad. Also, this is a classic lefty invasion of a popular space. Think about it. This isn't even the first time this song came out. The song that's used in Super Smash Bros. Was taken from the original Persona 5 game, which came out 2 years ago. I wonder why there was no virtue signaling from Kotaku back then. Well, I'm pretty sure it didn't happen back then because Persona 5 isn't as popular a game, at least in the mainstream United States and Europe markets. But once a Persona character and song were featured in Smash Bros., a much more popular game and one of the biggest fighting games in the world, which features an all-star cast of characters from all games, systems, and genres, well, now the SJWs are interested in it. It's kind of like how they got interested in comic books about 10 years ago, right at the same time the Marvel Cinematic Universe started and comic books and their movies began getting really big again. This all happens because SJWs are sad, pathetic, talentless creatures who can't make anything noteworthy or popular on their own. So instead, they opt to invade other popular spaces created by other people. And then upon entering, they immediately act like they own the place, making demands and telling us what we can say and do. Yuck. And also, some might think giving in on these kind of small requests could finally appease left-wingers like this, but I'm here to tell you that's completely false and untrue. It won't work with SJWs because their motive here is to take away things bit by bit, little by little. Now that they've already established that games can be censored in America, things won't end here. It'll snowball real quick. And a lot of this started back in 2017 when global censorship came for one animation of Mario Kart, another Nintendo game. This happened about 2 years ago when Nintendo was forced to censor an animation of one of its Inkling characters doing an up yours hand gesture that turned out to be offensive to some. Absolutely ridiculous. But it didn't stop there. Later, they censored that Native American animation in Smash Bros., which I went over earlier and in another video. Link to that one below. And now back to this story. Now we're taking out a song from Persona 5 that's being used in Smash Bros. That's what the SJWs are suggesting. But it will never end there. Next, they'll want to take away a stage, a costume, and a character fully. It really never ends. Then they'll move on and make an agreement with the publishers, and next the publisher will start appeasing them themselves. This is kind of exactly what happened to Sony too. First, they brought out localization. Then they gave their localization team some autonomy and too much independence. And then came censorship of United States titles completely. Then came the takeover of an entire PlayStation division by San Francisco. Then there was forced top-down censorship of Japanese games. It gets worse and worse. And that's how these SJW people operate. Their strategy is death by 1,000 cuts. And really, the only way to win here and to stop the bleeding is to grab the knife back and say, no, we're not caving in to your BS. Lastly, before we go, I'm just going to say this part outright. This Kotaku article really comes across as somewhat racist. The game and its characters and the voices and creators, they all came from Japan after all. And when this Kotaku writer hears a Japanese singer with a heavy accent mangle an English word, knowing that Asians speaking English have some trouble with the L and R sounds, well, when the author heard that, they immediately assumed the song was written and recorded with the full intent of including an ableist slur. And that's kind of offensive in itself. This phrase could have been any of a number of other vaguely similar sounding English phrases, but no. Kotaku wants to hear something offensive here, so they went ahead and heard it. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And also, the term retarded is barely known to Japanese speakers in the first place. And let's also not forget that this slur makes no sense in the context of the song, and it would serve no purpose being in a Japanese game in the first place, as its intended audience couldn't understand it anyway. It has no relevance to the themes of the song either, nor does it have any relevance to the game it comes from. And Kotaku wrote this article based on a false assumption without even attempting a cursory research into the lyrics in the first place. Why, you might ask? Well, I'm wondering what the purpose of this article is too. I wonder if the writer has a chip on their shoulder towards the game or its creators. Maybe they're trying to manufacture bias towards it, because in the end, there are plenty of legitimate issues to criticize Persona 5 or Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for. But this supposed fake disability slur, this is not one of them. And it's a really low blow to rake Lynn, the songwriter of the Persona 5 song. Well, raking her over the coals because of her accent is just plain wrong. And as the SJWs would say themselves if the tables were turned, that's racist. And it needs to stop. What do you guys think? Is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate being offensive to the disabled? Do you think the lyric is retarded, or is it retorted like what most people think? And do you think Kotaku will ever amend or correct this bogus article? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.